Hello LCA, and especially LCA seniors. It is April 30th, well over 30 days into the COVID-19 crisis. I have spoken to you before and likely will speak again about the times we are living in. All of us have been affected by this, but my heart really goes out to you seniors at this time because you have lost something that will not come around again. This final quarter of school was supposed to be your swan song, your farewell tour, your launch into the rest of your life. For the younger students, they've lost a quarter, but there are other quarters of high school still to come for them. You lost the chance to experience many milestones that you've been waiting for and looked forward to. We'll do a virtual graduation and look to do a live service for those who are in the area and contend when it's allowable and advisable. But even if everything opened up tomorrow, which is always possible, and we could go live with accommodations on May 13th, not all the class would be able to participate. So there will forever be something missing. Simple words cannot express how sorry I am that your last quarter of school occurred during the crisis and you missed so many last things of high school. To do something, I'm addressing you, and when I'm done speaking, I have a song for you. It's a song that I wrote. A song that I hope speaks to anyone who has experienced loss during this time. If you were at LCA last year, you know I wrote my first song for my wife and debuted it at T212. And it turned out okay for someone who has no musical ability. You would think I would leave well enough alone and not write another song. But unfortunately, leaving well enough alone is not really in my skill set. So a couple of weeks ago, I could not shake the feeling of melancholy as I thought about the seniors at LCA and everything they'd lost. So I wrote a song, and it's to you, the LCA class of 2020, that I dedicate this song. I really am sorry for each and every one of you. Sorry that you missed all the things that normally you would have experienced. I'm simply sorry for what you've lost. And you have experienced loss. There's no way around it. All people suffer loss. Being alive means suffering loss. For many of you, this is just a bigger loss than you've experienced before. I wish I could tell you that this will be the final loss that will come your way. But unfortunately, that is not the case. There are other losses ahead, some even bigger than this. The human experience has so many moments of joy, but there are also losses that occur. To have losses in our lives is simply the product of living a normal human life, because loss comes to everyone. But during these past 2 months of loss, I know you guys really have lost more than most. What do you do with this loss, or really any loss? You grieve. Grieve for what you've lost. Be sad. You should be sad because you've lost something very special to you. There are 5 traditional stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Work through all the stages, but be careful, especially with depression, and look for someone to help you if any of the stages seem to overwhelm you. Seriously, reach out for help. Don't be proud. Don't let anyone tell you that you just need to buck up, that you should just get over it. If you feel it's too much for you, reach out. Part of protecting yourself is getting the help that you need. If that's a friend or a mentor, reach out to them. If you need more help than that, do it. Take care of yourself. You're important. So if you're losing to depression, the blues, being sad, whatever you want to call it, get help. But really, take the time to grieve. When people try to tell you, it's okay, it's not okay. For those who would tell you, it could be worse, I know that that's not helpful, but people sometimes don't know how to help. So cut them a little slack and just ignore them and work out your grief. While technically things could be worse, they're bad enough. So make sure that you grieve. You may shed a tear or two, and that's okay. You may shed more than a tear or two, and that's okay as well. The Bible talks about lamenting. You probably have heard of the book in the Bible called Lamentations. A lamentation is more than just shedding a tear. It's a weeping or a wailing. It's when we just can't hold the grief in and it pours out of us. There are times when no matter how hard we try, we can't keep the grief, we can't keep the sadness, we can't keep the sense of loss inside of us, and it just comes pouring out. If you find yourself lamenting, that is okay. You've experienced a great loss and you need to grieve that loss. But remember that you cannot live in grief forever. At some point, you move on into the rest of your life. And I happen to think there are great days ahead for all of you. I want to read 2 verses to you. Both verses speak of a future time. Part of that future was going to result in tragedy. It's going to result in a crisis and turmoil, in just a complete upending of the people's way of life. God was telling them, coming up, you're going to experience a tremendous sense of loss, a loss unlike anything you've experienced before. Have you heard that said about these past couple of months? A time like no one has seen before? A terrible time of turmoil and loss? We are certainly in a time like that. But for these two different times of coming turmoil and loss, God says these words to the people. And the words are not for them when they are in the midst of the crisis, but instead for when they begin to come out of that time of loss. Deuteronomy 33 says, God will restore everything you lost. He'll have compassion on you. He'll come back and pick up the pieces from the places where you were scattered. Joel 2:25 says, I will restore the years the locust has eaten. God will restore the things you've lost. He'll come and pick up some of the pieces that were scattered and put them back together again into something that was new. That's what restoration means. God will restore the years that the locust has eaten. Or you could say the years of plague or the years the virus has eaten. This time took something from you, but at some point in time, God is going to restore what the time has eaten away. God was going to restore something to them that they had lost. Were they going to go back in time? Was He going to restore the exact thing that they lost? No, but there will be a restoration. You're not going to get to go back to high school and do your senior year over. But that does not mean that your losses will not be restored. They may just be restored in a way that you don't notice right away. When you suffer a loss, you feel incomplete. You feel like something is missing, and it is. But you're not going to feel incomplete forever. There are new things coming your way. Another thing I know you do not like to hear at this time is that life goes on. Just because you don't like to hear it does not mean that it's not true. Remember, I told you to grieve, but not live forever in your grief. Whether you like to hear it or not, life does go on. Your life will go on. At some point, you will notice that life has continued to move ahead, that loss leads to recovery and restoration. That loss sometimes allows new things to take their proper place in our lives where there had not been room for them before. Life goes on. Your life goes on. I wish you never had to go through this, but you did. Grieve the time, grieve the loss, comfort one another, then allow life to go on and watch for the restoration that will come. You will likely not see this restoration as an event, but rather you will see it in reflection. You will look back and remember the time with a lessened sense of loss, although some of the hurt may always be there, but you will also notice that so many good things happen to you and through you. That will be the time you will know that God has begun to restore the years that were eaten by the locust. But today, as you grieve and prepare yourself to go on, know that I'm rooting for you. I want to see you recovered and restored. I want to see your growth and what you will become. Seniors, in your time of loss, this is your song, and it's my prayer for you. I'm sorry for your loss, and I will always be sorry for your loss, but I also look forward to your restoration. I hope you enjoy your song. It truly is from my heart to yours.
One day the world just went away, hardly a chance to stop and say goodbye and see you soon. Couldn't sing a final tune, no big finale, no last hurrah, just cancellations no one saw. So I'll pray for what you've lost, that your return is far more than your cost. And when we reach those better days, I hope in many ways you find a fond memory or two as you've met the better you that had not yet about the friends we never saw another smile? What about the goodbyes we never said? What about the last good times we never had? No last chance to hang and chill. How do you make sense of a world that's standing still? So I'll pray for what you've lost, that your return is far more than your cost. And when we reach those better days, I hope in May